This is about as messy as I'll ever let you see my desk. Yes, that's a good boy. Can you clean my desk for me? Welcome back to the Scale Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching, and thanks Alexander for joining me for this video. He never ever does this. Doesn't stick around for very long. It's episode 28 of What's on the Bench Weekly. Familiar with What's on the Bench, it's where I take you through projects that I'm currently working on. And this one is one of those projects that's been on the bench for a very long time. Well, it's not been on the bench for a while, and now it's back on the bench. But here it is, the CUCV, or CUCV as it's sometimes pronounced. There's been a lot of minor progress, and the majority of the time, please excuse my mess. Because I was actually working on this, and now you get to see how my brain works, or perhaps how it doesn't. But there's been a lot of progress on the interior mostly. I've been focusing a lot of attention on that because the RC four-wheel drive interior that is included with the Blazer, not that great. It's very shallow. Doesn't really allow for a driver figure. It doesn't work well with the C-Max chassis. There's a lot of wasted space if you do use it. I really wanted to make one that was a lot more accurate to a CUCV and a lot more sparse because there's not a lot of creature comforts in these trucks, but there are a lot of things happening, as you can see from the mess on my desk. First and foremost, these are inner door cards that I've printed on the Prusa. I actually just changed the nozzle to the 0.6 nozzle, and it drastically reduces the print time. There are more lines. It's just, there's no way around it. The print lines are definitely more pronounced, so they will require a little more work in terms of sanding and prep before I do any priming and painting. But that's okay. These door cards are from Pardon My Noob, or Turks and Jerps. Let's just call him Turks and Jerps. You know what? Actually, Richard. Richard from Turks and Jerps sent me the file for these. He made these for an earlier model truck that he was working on. They're perfect for my CUCV because they are pretty much exactly the same. I've done two because there are two doors. I'm not going to make the doors open and close, but I did want to add a lot more detail to the interior than certainly it comes with. So there'll be a lot more sanding and finish work on these before they get installed. But I'm very pleased with how these look, and I think it's just going to make the truck look infinitely better. Now, speaking of, here is the truck back here. I'm going to pop the cab off and we'll take a look at that a little more clearly. But as you can see, the dashboard is in, but it's not in its stock location. It's been raised and moved further forward in the actual cab. And the whole point of that is to make it work better for an actual driver. RC four-wheel drive had it so low and so pushed forward that it just never worked right. So that's been adjusted and fixed. All I used was a couple of spacers and just drilled new holes for it. It should clear the windshield. Hopefully. I think I measured that properly. Yeah, I think it's going to be fine. And that's all that's been done to the cab. I think the last time we had this on, the grill was all done. So that's got all the proper like 12-volt adapters and driving lights and all the little modifications to that to make it look more like a CUCV. So yeah, I think I did the door handles at the last update as well. Those are 3D printed on the resin Elegoo Mars 3 printer, and those are accurate, unlike the ones that came with the truck, which I have somewhere, just maybe as a comparison. We'll check it out. Yeah, that's not accurate at all. What I've done is far superior. I might actually put those files up on Thingiverse so other people could share in the joy of having proper door handles. Richard redid the mirrors, and I printed those in resin as well. They are much better than what also came with the truck. These are so much smaller. I just used a little bit of piano wire there for the metal bit. Otherwise, that's going to be great. Really happy with those. Okay, let's move over to the interior that I've started working on. What a mess. Golly. Okay, so I think we already had the motor last time as well, and the inner fenders. These are from GCM Racing. Perfect for the C-Max because they were made for the C-Max. They are not period correct. They are a lot more square than they should be, but I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of accuracy for a nice functional piece. These were the best ones I found. I will definitely put links down below to all of these parts if you are interested in building a proper Chevy. GCM, scale design by Mr. Comedy, and Rex Racer 19, all doing great stuff with proper looking Chevys. Now, CUCVs, at least the one I'm referencing, had a bench seat, so I designed this in Fusion 360 and printed it on the Prusa in multiple, actually I think there's 3 different filaments in this seat, but that's a great thing about the Prusa. As soon as it runs out of filament, it stops, tells you that it needs filament, you put more filament in, it just keeps going. Love it. So I think that's a pretty common feature among most printers these days, but I really like seeing that. Okay, this is the start of the interior, and there's not much to it. It's a little tiny bit of styrene and a shifter. This shifter is the transfer case shifter, and this was also designed and printed by me on the Mars 3 resin printer. You could not get this level of detail with a FDM printer, so I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. It looks really good. And pretty accurate to the real thing. I went on eBay of all places to find a reference photo, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Richard scolded me though because it's in too high, or I think it's in too low. Yeah, I think it's in too low. He's like, why did you leave it in too low? Stickler for details, not me. That's really great though. That's gonna go right there. To get this sort of angle, all I did was measure where the transmission tunnel had to be and kind of created those angles, and then just did a slice along those 2 edges, and then on the underside I did a half slice or a half score with my blade and then just bent it up. I didn't actually detach this center piece from the main piece that I'm using here. And then I just kind of measured these angles and cut everything and glued it all together with some styrene glue. I think it looks fine. It tapers in and actually contours really nicely to the existing skids from the Rex Racer kit for the C-Max. That all looks really good. I printed those on the Prusa as well. And once everything is done, it'll all get primed and then coated in OD green, so it's all one color underneath, as it's supposed to be. I think the NATO design on the camo only goes on the body panels. I'm sure it doesn't go on the undercarriage. They would never spend the time to do that. So yeah, that's sort of where it sits, and it's gonna be good because I'll actually be able to get a full-size driver in there because there's plenty of room there, and because I'll be able to hide a battery underneath the seat here, you won't see it when you're looking in from the outside. Yes, progress. And some scratch building and fiddling. This is the best part of building, in my opinion, is the time spent sitting here and thinking. Honestly, it's the best. And you can tell by my expression that I'm really happy and really excited about getting this truck closer to being done. I think by springtime, it'll be ready to go. There are a lot of fiddly details and lots of 3D printed bits that I'm gonna have to figure out, including the carb. It sits too high, like the air cleaner and the carb sit too high on that motor for me to close the hood properly. So we're gonna have to figure that out. I also still have to put the letters on the back of the tailgate. I keep forgetting to do that, but it does need to say Chevrolet back there, so at some point we will do that as well. Drive shafts. It's already got a motor, but I have not added the ESC or a receiver yet. In fact, I haven't even added a steering servo, so we're gonna have to do that as well. Proper wheels. Still have not located anything that I think would be good for this truck. These don't look right. There's not enough bolts. So that's still something we're gonna work on. I think Richard said he might design a setup, so hopefully he'll do that. But yeah, it's nice to see some progress on this truck, and I'm really enjoying this build. I'm taking my time with it. And it should be obvious. It's been going on for almost a year, maybe more. But the end result is what I think matters the most. And knowing that I've put the time in to make this more realistic is really what I think is key. The best part of this hobby for me is definitely the building. If you agree, put a comment down below. You know I love reading through your feedback, and I try to answer as many of them as I can. And if you're enjoying this video, you like this series, hit the like button. It helps the algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you get updates anytime there's a new video from the Scale Builders Guild. I think that's going to do it, though. I just wanted to kind of do a quick update on this one and show you some little bits and pieces that are really going to make this truck shine. Although it's not going to be shiny. I think that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again next week.